Welcome to our home.
It's great that you're joining us again.
Let's go get a cup of coffee. Why don't you go grab a cup of coffee?
And join us for our tale of our biggest travel mistakes. Wow, our biggest travel mistakes. And have we made some whoppers along the way, Teen?
Oh yes, we have. We are Tina and Norm, and we talk all things retirement and travel. We would love you to subscribe and give us the thumbs up because it really helps our channel.
So, Teen, we did one of those bucket list trips to Australia and New Zealand.
Yes, we did. It
Took us, what, about 24 hours to get to
New Zealand. Yeah,
it was probably about 35 now, I think about it. And that was where we experienced Air New Zealand for the first time.
It's absolutely wonderful. Big thumbs up for Air New Zealand.
Probably one of the best airlines we've ever flown with.
Yes.
So, what was our mistake in Australia? Well, we didn't stay long enough.
Yeah.
We just gave ourselves a couple of days either side of a 2-week cruise. And we went all that way there. We really never thought to put a week at each side, at least.
Yeah, well, we did try, Norm, to do a back-to-back cruise, didn't we? But we just couldn't find one that timed in with...
That was the whole point. We were going to be doing 4 weeks of cruise, and we just couldn't get that second cruise to tie in with the dates.
No.
And so we left it too late to be able to put a week at either end. So if you're going somewhere for a long time, look into the possibility, if it's something like a cruise or a tour, to stay in one place for a week or two. After all, we're all retired, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Got time on our hands.
Actually, that, Norm, leads us to another point. One of our mistakes was that we let a travel agent book the flights of the trip that Norm was talking about. And what they did was they booked using a low-cost airline to take us from Sydney to Brisbane when we were coming on our return trip. Mm-hmm. So we thought it was just like how you would normally get on a plane and your luggage would go from one to the next.
Your luggage?
No, that didn't happen. And also, the two airports were 4 kilometers apart. So when we got into one and we thought the next plane...
Well, we landed in domestic in Brisbane and had to go to the international in Brisbane to fly out with Air Canada.
And the travel agent didn't know that the two were 4 kilometers apart. And we had to get security people involved. We had to get a taxi to go from one to the other. They actually held the plane up.
And the trouble with low-cost airlines sometimes is that they don't run on schedule. So they were already late.
Yeah.
And our agent hadn't allowed a long enough time. And that was the only time we've let an agent book all these flights for us.
So after that experience, we now book all our own flights, don't we?
And we gauge the timing and everything. So
make sure.
Take control of your own destiny.
Absolutely.
Another huge mistake is trying to find travel bargains. Okay, we all love travel bargains and we buy a lot of them.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do the Baltic cruise. We didn't care which line it was. We were looking at Holland America. We were looking at Princess.
Yeah, Norwegian, all of them, weren't we?
But we kept seeing discount prices coming up. But we thought we could do better if we waited.
Yeah.
And we waited. And they never came. But you know what did come around?
The pandemic came. And now cruising stopped and we can't go cruising, and the main place we wanted to go to was Russia.
St. Petersburg
is not a good place to be visiting, so no cruises, no visiting, so we missed it, didn't we?
We did. So procrastination is your worst enemy. If you see it, we should have just paid the extra and gone and enjoyed it and had that experience, and we may never get back there. We don't know. No. So don't procrastinate thinking you're going to get a cheaper price when you might lose out.
Just pay that extra bit and do it, hey? Another one of our mistakes that it turns to be quite a big mistake is that for the first 4 years of us traveling when we retired, we just didn't know, and I don't know why we didn't look into it, but we always used to try and book our trips. We got 31 days on our travel insurance. So all the trip had to be go there, do it, get back, count within the 31 days, and we were all fully covered. When, was it 2 or 3 years ago, we decided to do 2 months in the Algarve. So now we had a problem. We had to find out how could we be insured for 2 months. So we found out, we contacted our insurance company. They were good for 31 days. But then we found out we could get a top-up policy from another very big insurance company. So we had our first...
What we had been doing was shopping around to maybe buy a different travel insurance for that particular trip. And just by chance, Tina called up TD Insurance in Canada, Toronto Dominion, and the person on the phone was asking Tina all about it, and then suggested, well, we can top that policy that you already have with your other credit card. That was with the Bank of Montreal. We never realized you could do that, and we'd been traveling for 5 years until we found that out.
Which in hindsight, now we knew that we could do this. We could have done this on lots of the other trips
and that's
we
why
went on.
This last Portugal trip was 60 days for us, because
we found out we could do that. So now going forward, we now know we have the ability to go for longer trips.
That's right.
By finding a better top-up insurance policy. So that was a lesson well learned. Don't make that mistake.
Exactly. Good lesson to learn, teen. One recurring mistake, and we're going to put this one to bed in future once we get back on the road, is we will buy those impulse deals where you'll get a week in Edinburgh, or a week in Iceland, or a week in the Azores Islands, and we've done those. The one thing we haven't done, maybe because I'm too cheap, is to rent a car for a few days, just a couple of days. Oftentimes you want to explore like Reykjavik for 2 or 3 days, but we could have had another 2 or 3 days during that week of going out of Reykjavik and exploring ourselves and not being stuck to buying a tour from a bus company or what have you. So we have this reluctance, I suppose this inbuilt fear of renting a car and then having a bad experience when you bring it back, where they try and nickel and dime you for stuff.
And I think actually, in all fairness, Norm, that was one of the reasons we had Googled a lot on TripAdvisor, and we had read some horror stories in places about the car rental. So it put us off.
It did. But it shouldn't have done.
Yeah, because when we were there in the hotel and we saw other people doing it, and by then it was too late.
Yeah, we were in Terceira Island.
And meeting people that had done it.
And all the hotels have a car rental agency in the hotel, a desk where they come in during the day, and they have 2 or 3 cars parked in the secure hotel parking. So it would have been so simple to have done it.
So we were a little, I guess, more scared, weren't we? Not quite as confident.
So what we're saying is, if you're going to some of these places that you may never get back to, think long and hard about maximizing your opportunity and maybe rent a car for a couple of days.
And when you were talking too about Iceland, Norm, I got my Iceland necklace
on. I see that, yeah.
Which is for traveling.
Yeah, Icelandic symbol.
So another big mistake we made was, as you all...
It sounds as though we go through life making just gigantic mistakes.
It's not a big mistake. It's a mistake. We took the 24-hour bus trip down to Daytona. Fantastic deal, wasn't it?
It was great.
We loved it. It was an all-inclusive deal. It picked us up right here in our hometown. We got there. Everything was included. The room, breakfast, happy hours were included.
And it was right on the beach. So every morning we went for a walk on Daytona Beach.
Wasn't it? But
Yeah.
what we didn't realize was, although this was a custom trip for 2 weeks that we were there, we could have extended the trip by saying to them when we were there, because we found out this when we were there and it was too late to do it. We could have found out, had they had extra rooms, and providing there was a seat on the bus coming back, we could have extended it for another week or two, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And
the weather was amazing.
Oh,
it was around Halloween time, so it was this time of year.
Yeah, it was
and it
really
was
hot, wasn't it?
And we should have stayed for another week or two.
And we just didn't. So learn by what we're telling you. If you get the opportunity, make the most of it.
So I think the one message that we've learned is that, and this is all about easing into retirement. Retirement's a new occupation for us that we're still getting used to. And the one thing about being retired is you have plenty of time on your hands. So why not invest that time when you go to places and maybe stay a little longer?
Yeah. By like doing more planning, hey? Just that little bit extra planning could give you
just
a
kind of
better
thinking
trip.
outside of the box. Our biggest travel mistakes that we've made in the last 5 years, having been retired, and hopefully you could learn a little bit from that and not make the same mistakes that we have. So
we hope you've enjoyed our video.
And we hope everybody is staying safe.
And keeping well.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.